I'm not trying to make you feel old or anything, but it's been more than a decade since Konami made a proper side-scrolling Castlevania game. Thankfully, indie studios from around the world have stepped up to fill in that castle-shaped hole in our hearts and released their own takes on the Vania formula. We saw versions starring a luchador, set underwater, found in a cave, based on a movie, full of furries, procedurally generated, and even one featuring a boy who is also an owl. But what if you want something that looks, plays, and has the exact same atmosphere as a game like Symphony of the Night? Well, if that describes you, then let me introduce you to Record of Lodoss War, Deedlit in Wonder Labyrinth, a game so similar to Castlevania that you can almost hear Dracula shaking in his cape. But don't write this one off as just another clone, because I'm here to tell you that this is one of the best side-scrolling action games that I've played this year. I should probably mention right at the top that I'm not all that familiar with the Record of Lodoss War series. I haven't read the manga, watched the anime, or even played any of the video game adaptations. So I really went into Deedlit and Wonder Labyrinth with no prior knowledge or expectations. Hell, I didn't even know that Deedlit is the name of a character. The good news is that you don't need to be that well versed in the source material or really know anything about it at all, because this game does an excellent job of bringing everybody along for the ride. It's about a high elf named Deedlit who wakes up in a familiar place for a mysterious reason. We're just as confused as she is, which sets up a compelling mystery that involves a lost love, an evil witch, and a whole lot of secrets that are worth dredging up. Like most games in the genre, Record of Lodoss War is more about the exploration and action than the storytelling. There's enough of a mystery here to keep us interested, but the real goal of the game is to investigate this familiar world, fight a bunch of monsters, and then find a power-up or ability that'll open up even more of the map to explore. If you've played Symphony of the Night or one of the 2D Castlevania games from the early 2000s, then you're gonna feel right at home in the Wonder Labyrinth. Now, that's not to say that there aren't fresh ideas here, because there definitely are. Right off the bat, Deedlit is able to float around the ground, opening up a whole lot of fun platforming elements that you don't normally see in this type of game. She also gains the ability to switch between wind and fire attacks. This is where the game begins to feel more like the classic shoot-'em-up Ikaruga than Castlevania. Deedlit will be able to absorb blue attacks when she's harnessing wind and red attacks when she's using fire. And it's not just the magic the enemies throw at her, but also barriers that stand in her way and flame pits that can only be navigated by using her fiery side. Being able to switch between the two elements at the push of a button adds a lot of new possibilities when it comes to the obstacles and boss attacks. And I kinda love how unique this game feels because of it. Record of Lodoss War also does some interesting things with the weapons. Instead of getting more powerful as you level up, our hero is able to pick up dozens of swords, spears, hammers, axes, and bows, and then switch between them at any time. You can also buy and sell them at the item shop. I like how we're not only finding new weapons as we explore the labyrinth, but also earning them from killing monsters. We're able to hold a melee, bow, and magic spell at the exact same time, allowing for a lot of fun ways to take on the wide assortment of cool bad guys and bosses. And the weapons aren't only for killing, as the bow will often work double duty when it comes to solving the labyrinth's many puzzles. It's just another great example of the developers putting a lot of thought and care into every aspect of the gameplay. That's the sentiment that I kept coming back to time and time again while playing through Record of Lodoss War. Between the gorgeous pixel graphics, the smooth animation, the tight gameplay, the challenging boss fights, and even the moody music, Deedlit and Wonder Labyrinth delivers in almost every way possible. And it's not just the big things that they end up getting right, but also the tiny details that make this world so much fun to live in. This looks and plays exactly like something that Konami would have made at the height of Castlevania's popularity. It's that authentic. Look, we've seen a lot of these types of games released by smaller studios, but this one impressed me so much more than I was expecting. The only noticeable downside to all this polish is the game's length. Split into only a few chapters, Record of Lodoss War is a bit shorter than the other games in the genre. It's about half the length of Castlevania greats like Symphony of the Night, Dawn of Sorrow, and Harmony of Dissonance. The map is also a lot more straightforward than those games. Look, there's still a lot of incentive to explore the labyrinth and discover all of its secret areas. But I have a hunch that most people are going to whip right through this game in only a few hours. I was more than a little surprised when I got to the end. Not necessarily disappointed, but definitely surprised. But even with its short length, it's hard not to fall in love with Deedlit and Wonder Labyrinth. It not only gets all the fundamentals right, but it also exceeds expectations by adding a lot of new elements to this age-old formula. It also looks and plays exactly like a classic 2D Castlevania game, which made me feel surprisingly nostalgic. Look, if Konami isn't going to make these types of games anymore, then I'm more than happy that somebody is here to keep the fire lit. It may look, play, and even sound like a classic Castlevania game, but Record of Lodoss War, Deedlit, and Wonder Labyrinth also has a lot in common with shoot-'em-up great Ikaruga. This combination may sound strange at first, but it ends up turning a solid clone into one of the best Metroidvania games since Axiom Verge. While a bit on the short side and could have benefited from being a little harder, nobody's going to be disappointed by the gorgeous graphics, the great gameplay, and the massive boss fights. Record of Lodoss War is a must-play for anybody who fell in love with Symphony of the Night. Hey, thanks for watching our review. If you liked what you saw here, then you should know that we post new reviews and features almost every day. Now, here's the question I have for you. What animated show or movie should be turned into a game? And what kind of game would it be? Let me see your picks in the comments below. In other news, we'll be back shortly with a review of Heal Console Edition, followed by Swan, Chernobyl Unexplored, Mad Devils, Boomerang, Silicon Dreams, and many more. If that sounds good to you, then I strongly recommend you click that subscribe button and support what we're doing here. Until then,